There are some things in life that never change. No matter how many costumes we wrap ourselves in or how much the world evolves. People chase new ideals, speak in modern tongues, wear digital armor. But under it all, the old forces remain. Love, power, fear of losing control, the need to be wanted, and the dread of being discarded. Niccolò Machiavelli saw these forces clearly. He studied the hearts of princes and the mood of the crowds. And what he found was this: whether in politics or in love, human beings are moved by the same instincts. The same patterns of dominance and submission play out in bedrooms and throne rooms alike. The scenery changes, silk curtains or campaign banners, but the script stays eerily familiar. See, when you're young, you think love is soft and sweet, a field of flowers, handwritten poems, and candlelit warmth. But if you live long enough, you start to notice something else. Love, real love, is a battleground. Not always in a cruel or aggressive way, but in the sense that influence is at stake. One is always trying to gain ground, the other trying not to lose it. That's not cynicism, that's just the truth behind the curtain. You can't ignore power dynamics in relationships any more than you can in government. And the one who gives away his center too early, who spills his soul too easily, often loses both respect and influence. This isn't about manipulation. I'm not here to teach games. I'm here to talk about how to keep your soul intact in a world that wants you to put it on clearance just to be accepted. This is about maintaining your sovereignty, emotional, mental, spiritual, while still being open enough to connect. And it begins with understanding one timeless lesson. Mystery isn't a trick, it's strength. Chapter 1. The Power of Silence and Mystery. I've lived long enough to see what happens to men who open their hearts too quickly, thinking that vulnerability will buy them intimacy. I've seen them become shadows of who they were meant to be, traded piece by piece for scraps of approval. They want to be understood. They want their fears cradled, their wounds kissed, their tenderness celebrated. But the world doesn't work that way. And when it comes to romantic relationships, especially with women, you'll find something ancient still applies. People don't respect what they fully understand. Machiavelli once wrote, "He who maintains a part of the mysterious commands both fear and respect." That wasn't just advice for ruling cities. That was advice for ruling yourself. In relationships, the predictable man is the easily replaced man. When you expose every wound, explain every emotion, and plead to be seen, you give away your strategic position. Not because she will hurt you, maybe she won't, but because the tension that keeps love alive is gone. Mystery isn't about manipulation, it's about protection. It's about preserving the gravity of your own soul. Women, like any powerful force of nature, are drawn to strength. Not brute strength, but presence, depth, something they can lean on when the world starts to spin. And let me tell you something, no woman finds comfort in a man who unravels every time life shakes him. I've seen it with my own eyes. Men pouring out their worries, their childhood scars, their financial stress, their anxiety, thinking it will bring closeness. Maybe she listens, maybe she says the right things, but deep down, a shift happens. The mystery dissolves. And when the mystery goes, so does the magnetism. See, every person is wired to test. We probe for weakness, not out of cruelty, but instinct. A woman, whether she knows it or not, is asking, can this man hold the line? Can he carry weight? Can he withstand the storm without breaking? If you show her that you can't, if you crack under pressure, spill your guts too fast, or beg for reassurance. You've already answered her question, and it wasn't the answer she was hoping for. Now listen to me clearly. This doesn't mean you should be cold or closed. This isn't about becoming stone. This is about being deep, about remaining rooted. Like a well, she can draw water from you, but she should never be able to touch the bottom. Let her feel your warmth, your strength, your attention, but never give away the entire map to your inner world. Your pain, your doubts, your fears, those aren't for mass distribution. Those are sacred, and they only belong where they will be handled with the utmost care. You want to be kind? Good. You want to be loyal? Great. But if you're doing all that without mystery, you're not a lover, you're furniture. You're the reliable chair in the corner that's always there, always comfortable, never exciting. So what do? You hold space. You speak when it matters. You don't explain every mood. You don't ask to be seen every hour of the day. You don't perform your pain to win her sympathy. And above all, you let her wonder. Let her wonder where your thoughts are. Let her wonder what moves you. Let her wonder who you truly are when no one is looking. Because that wondering, that beautiful, maddening curiosity, is what keeps her reaching for you. Machiavelli would have said it like this: virtue without strength is just a plaything for those who wield more power. And in love, just like in politics, kindness without gravity becomes weakness. So here's your rule. Remain mysterious, even in intimacy. It means this: even when you hold her, even when you kiss her, even when you open your heart, never let her feel that she's reached the end of you. There should always be a locked room inside you, a quiet forest she hasn't walked, a mountain she hasn't climbed. Not because you're hiding, but because you're whole. A man who doesn't need to be understood, a man who stands in quiet self-possession, becomes the rarest thing in the modern world. A presence that commands respect without demanding it. So guard your mystery. It's your throne, and a throne isn't meant to be passed around.
Chapter 2. The Discipline of Emotional Control. If mystery is your armor, then emotional control is the steel frame beneath it. Without it, you're just a man wearing a mask, and that mask will crack the moment life hits you hard. You cannot remain mysterious if your emotions are easily hijacked. You cannot be a man if your mood is dictated by hers. And you cannot claim influence in any relationship if you lose your composure every time the pressure rises. Just like in politics, relationships are filled with subtle tests. Some are deliberate, many are not. A woman, like the public in Machiavelli's teachings, senses where you're weak. She notices when you fold. She knows, instinctively, how to pull you off your center, not necessarily out of cruelty, but out of curiosity, even fear. Sometimes it's unconscious, sometimes it's just biology, but it happens. Her silence, her coldness, her sharp words. These aren't always acts of hostility. Often, they're emotional waves crashing to see what rocks stand against them. And if you don't stand, if you flinch, overreact, raise your voice, start explaining yourself with desperate energy, you fail the test. You become like the leader Machiavelli warned against, overly emotional, easily provoked, and ultimately unfit to hold power. He might have said it this way: he who allows his emotions to be ruled has already lost before the battle begins. A man can be kind, passionate, joyful, but when the storm hits, when she's upset, when she's pushing your buttons, when the air gets heavy, You must become the mountain. Not the wildfire, not the wind, the mountain. A man who loses emotional control becomes a child in her eyes. He's no longer her partner. He's someone she has to manage. And while she may love him, while she may even care for him deeply, she will not respect him. And without respect, attraction begins to rot, slowly, quietly, fatally. You can show care, you can show affection, you can express passion. But if she sees that her emotional chaos unhinges you, the foundation starts to crack. She may not even understand why her feelings shift, but they will. Because when she senses you're governed by emotion, not principle, she knows she's with someone she can move. And someone she can move is someone she can control. And someone she can control is someone she cannot truly trust with her safety. The man she wants, and I say wants, in her deepest, quietest core, is the man who can stand still while everything around him moves. Not cold, just unshaken. Let me say that again. Not cold, but unshaken. You may feel fire in your chest, your heart may pound, your thoughts may scream, but outside, you are calm, you are precise, you are composed. Not robotic, but deliberate. Because here's a truth that never goes out of style. Calmness in the storm is more frightening than any weapon, for the one who came to unnerve you now stands before a wall that will not break. She may provoke you, she may accuse you of things you didn't do, she may fall silent in the middle of a fight just to see what you'll do. You'll want to explain, to plead, to raise your voice, to demand fairness. Don't. You don't owe your presence to chaos. You don't have to prove your worth to a storm. You speak once, clearly, calmly. You hold your line. Then you go quiet. Not as punishment, not out of spite, but out of respect for yourself, for your boundaries, for the dignity you intend to keep. Because the moment you start chasing her moods, you've given her the reins. And here's the irony. The second you give her that power, she doesn't want it. What she wants, even if she tests it, is for you to hold the line. She may try to shake you. She may get angry. She may try to break your resolve. But deep down, she respects you more for staying grounded. And over time, the testing will slow because she sees it's useless. You don't crumble. You don't negotiate your self-worth. You don't get drawn into emotional theater. In a world where everyone is yelling, explaining, defending, blaming, a man who holds silence with calm authority becomes a gravitational force. He becomes an anchor. He becomes a quiet center in a loud world. He becomes the stone the river flows around, unmoved. Does this mean you have to be ice? No. Live, laugh, love, be warm. But in the storm, you become steel. Not because you're cruel, but because you're sovereign. Because you choose the outcome, not the impulse. Remember this rule. In relationships, as in politics, the winner isn't the one who yells the loudest, it's the one who holds the line the longest. Once you internalize this, you'll notice something change. Her tone will shift. Her testing will soften. She'll realize this man cannot be moved by emotion alone. And in that moment, she respects you. Not out of fear, not out of submission, but out of a deep, cellular recognition that you are not her project. You are a man. And in that dynamic, there's a future, a real one. Not a stage play of emotional reactions, but a steady, grounded structure where you remain whole and she remains drawn to your gravity. Emotional control isn't a game. It's a practice. It's a weapon. It's the foundation of your mystery, your influence, and your unshakable self-worth. You gain a new resource, attention born of respect, not pity. And attention grounded in respect becomes the fuel that steers the relationship towards something real, something lasting, and something deeply worthy of you.
Chapter 3. Guard your time and attention. Never be too available. Among all the mistakes that intelligent men make in relationships, one stands out as the most common, most dangerous, and most fatal. They become too available. You might think this is a sign of love, of reliability, of maturity. You might believe that being ever present is what a real man does. But let me tell you something, son. More often than not, it is not love you are showing. It is dependence. And that kind of availability carries the scent of fear, fear of losing her. And fear, like blood in the water, always draws sharks. Machiavelli knew it in politics, and it holds just as true in matters of the heart. A man who can be had at any time quickly loses value. That which is always within reach ceases to be a treasure. In politics, every ruler worth his salt understood one principle: scarcity breeds desire. The same applies in relationships. Scarcity of your attention increases your value. Now you may think she will appreciate your willingness to always reply instantly, to always show up at her request, to drop your plans, to give her all of you. And yes, at first it may feel sweet. She might even smile. But soon enough, predictability replaces passion. Certainty kills curiosity. Why? Because once she knows you're always going to be there, she no longer fears losing you. And without the fear of loss, there's no motivation to value what's in front of her. You become like furniture, dependable, constant, and overlooked. You stop being the man she dreamed of. You become the man who's just always around. Not because she earned it, but because you offered yourself freely. You've become a resource, not a mystery. And people do not admire resources. They use them. In Machiavellian terms, power lies in scarcity. Not for everyone, not all the time, and not without merit. People chase what they cannot easily hold. A woman may want you, but she needs to feel that you could walk away. Not out of manipulation, but out of strength, because you belong to yourself first. That, my friend, is not cruelty. It is dignity. It is the understanding that your time, your energy, your attention are not to be wasted. Watch how the weak man behaves. She texts him midday, "I miss you. Can you come over?" He cancels everything. He rushes. He abandons his schedule. He bends over backwards to be her hero. And yes, maybe she says thank you. Maybe she smiles. But in the back of her mind, she now knows he moves when I call. He traded his mission for a moment. Now imagine another response. She texts you, same message, same hour. And you reply with warmth but clarity. "I'm tied up at the moment, but I'll be free later tonight. Let's talk then." You're not playing games. You're not withholding affection. You're simply not available on command. And that distinction, that subtle, powerful difference, makes all the difference. She senses something. You are not hers.
You are your own man, and she must align with your rhythm if she wants to stay in your orbit. That is not indifference. That is self-respect. Machiavelli once wrote, "A ruler must be like a beast. He cannot be tamed, yet he inspires trust." You should be the same. Not tamed by constant availability, but dependable when you choose to show up. You do not have to vanish. You do not have to play hard to get. But your attention, your time, must be earned, not assumed. Let her wait for your response. Let her wonder what you're up to. Let her feel a trace of mystery when your name lights up her screen. Because if she knows every move you'll make, if she can reach you any second, if you've made yourself her emotional Uber driver, she stops feeling your presence as a gift. She sees it as entitlement. Do you love her? Good. Do you care for her? Show it. Do you want a life with her? Build it. But never become predictable to the point of erasing your edge. Because that edge is what keeps the dynamic alive. The moment she stops wondering about you, she starts wandering from you. Remember this. Do not fear being rare. Fear being constant. Everything valuable is limited, and the more rare your presence is, the more it commands attention. Not because you're playing games, but because you value your own mission more than her momentary desire. You do not live on her clock. You do not orbit her moods. You are not a pet to be summoned at her convenience. You are your own man. And when a woman sees this, she respects it. She leans in. She works for it. She values what she cannot control. That does not diminish her. It elevates you. It gives her something to admire. It turns routine into desire. It revives the pulse of attraction. Because in a world where men are begging for attention, falling over themselves to prove loyalty, and sacrificing their time at the altar of instant connection, you will be the one who stands apart. In a world that glorifies constant contact, you will be the one who chooses his moment. Because true power lies in this. He who controls his attention controls the dynamic. If you want to remain the man who commands attraction and earns respect, never forget this. Value yourself like something rare, because you are.
In a world where everyone rushes to speak, the man who masters silence becomes a mystery. In a world ruled by emotion, the man who controls himself becomes a pillar of strength. And in a world where attention is cheap and constant, the man who values his time becomes priceless. These three principles are the foundation of inner power. But to become truly unshakable, you must go further. You must understand not only how to be strong, but how never to be exposed. In the next video, we will explore why you must never reveal your weak points, how to win through patience, and what defines the true philosophy of a smart man. Do not miss it. It goes deeper, it gets quieter, and it hits harder.